New York, New York.
Ow now, brown cow.
Listen, ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention? I have just been handed this urgent and horrifying news story. I need all of you to stop what you're doing and listen. Welcome to the 5 Elements of Success Player Development Series. I am Roger Nick, your host. We have a great show for you. We're going to be talking about the not the 5 elements. We've already talked about that. Sorry, we're in Halloween mode here, so I apologize. But we mess up occasionally. But anyway, we're talking about...
We just read what's on the teleprompter, right?
Yeah, whatever's on the teleprompter, I read it, and that was there, so apologize. No, primary fundamentals, that's what we're going to be talking about. We have the swing path and club face. We're going to be talking more about what's affecting that and how you're going to have... strike the ball better and get lower scores. So really excited about this week's show. So sorry for the confusion. We're just dressed up as our news anchors that we do on our day job. So again, before we get into anything, let's talk about making this interactive. Send in your questions, comments, concerns to 5 Elements at the Golf Performance Center, our YouTube chat. We really want to hear from you so we can make this show better for you and help us learn to help you achieve your greatness in golf and in life. So again, thanks so much. As you see prompted there, PDI assessment, download that Junior Golf Hub app, making sure that you assess yourself. What do you need to do? How do you do it? Let us again help you understand where your game is at the moment. So download that, get that PDI self-assessment done. I'd like to hear from you. Pop quiz question today. What movie is the gang dressed up as?
Whammy. I wonder.
What movie is the gang dressed up as today? Those who are going to send in the answer will win a checklist, a college checklist from the Junior Golf Hub. So we'll be revealing that winner later on in the show. So again, stay tuned. We got a great show for you. Brick, I'm sorry, not Brick, but Brian.
How dare you?
I'm
the good-looking one of the group.
You are the best-looking one of the group, and how did I miss that?
What did we cover last week? You want to know what we covered last week? We covered static versus dynamic posture. We talked static and dynamic posture, how important it is to rotate. If you guys do that, I promise you 60% of the time it will work every time. Every time.
I love it, Brian. What a concept that is. Hey, you know what? Again, Dennis, as we talk about that, Champ, Whammy, Champ, Hillman. Director of coaching here at the Golf Performance Center. So we're really excited about talking about this club path and club face control to get that ball in the hole least amount of strokes possible. When you're talking with your junior golfers, what are you talking about? What does that mean?
We're talking about club path and club face because that directly impacts how the ball flies. So we know ball flight tendencies are really important to understand, and understanding how the club is delivered through impact is super important. We're also talking about those lead factors, the other fundamentals that we've talked about in weeks past, and how those really dictate how the club moves. So important to understand ground forces, posture, rotation, how that really is the driving force between how you're going to deliver the club. Underlying that is the physical side. So take it away, Brian. What do we see on the physical
guy?
We've got, Brian, the physical guy. We've got, obviously, the last few weeks we've been talking a lot about how much the body plays a role in our ability to have a favorable result with the golf ball, right? So we talk about posture, we talk about the ability to rotate. The 2 types of posture, static and dynamic, and really, when we talk about club path and club face, we're really more into the dynamic side of posture and how our movement is going to affect what the club is doing. So just to keep it simple, guys, a few screens that we really want to be focused on at home to challenge our ability to stabilize our lower body are going to be your single leg balance test, all right? Just simply standing on one leg, raising that leg up to your belt line, and holding your single leg balance as long as possible. If you find that you're really good at that, go ahead and close your eyes. Make that a little tougher, or better yet, put yourself on an unstable surface.
Seems awfully simple.
Seems very simple. It's much more difficult than you think, and this is one of my favorite screens that we do here at GPC to really identify the player's ability to stabilize, use those large muscles of the lower body. We'll talk a little bit later on about why stability is important in putting the club path and club face on the golf ball, but I promise you, if you have a difficulty stabilizing that lower body and creating some separation, it's going to be tough for you to do that.
So you need a little bit larger lower body muscles.
There you go. Large lower body muscles. Let's do it.
Maybe that'll help you. All right. Champ Hillman, so we're talking about the, path control. And I know there's a lot of questions out there about swing plane versus swing club path.
Sure.
What is the difference?
Well, path is a reality. It can be measured. It can be measured on a simulator where you put sensors on the club or, TrackMan. Whatever it may be, path is actually the direction that the club is traveling from and through impact, kind of the arc of it, if you will, relative to the ground level. But plane is sort of a concept that, in reality, it's sort of imperfect. We use it as kind of a model, maybe how the club should travel up and down, but the reality is it doesn't travel, straight along that line perfectly, right? There's a shape to it, if you will. So, and again, it's dictated by how your body moves. So path is a reality. It's something that we can actually measure.
Yeah, I've been on a plane once before. So working on that, and I think that's really important to understand the differences there, because I think one of the things that we hear often is I'm working on my swing plane, and again, understanding that's an imperfect thing, that leaves no room for error, and that's not kind of where you want to be standing over the golf ball thinking I have no room for error here.
Yeah, it's a major pitfall in getting better at this game is really striving for a perfection that's unattainable, and putting a lot of time and energy into trying to achieve something that, whether it's visually on a video that, hey, it's going to look like this and I'll be great, it just doesn't work like that. So again, let's look at things that can actually be measured really well and how those impact how you play. Whammy.
Whammy. So thinking about that. So Tyler, as we're talking about the physical side of things, what are the muscle groups when you think about where that club needs to travel? It needs to go up and back down.
Sure.
How are those limbs working, and what muscle groups are you using?
Yeah. So to keep it very simple, we like to think of it in the sense of rotation and flexion. So if we get into setup in good static posture and we start to rotate that upper body, and we really just ask our arms to flex like this. All right, we add some rotation and flexion together, that club's going to be in a pretty good solid position. The arms get across the body, they start moving like this, it's going to change the path of the club, and a lot of times that'll happen if we struggle to rotate properly. But I would say our most efficient position to get the club in a good spot at the top of our backswing is just simply rotate well through the trunk. Don't overcomplicate it by adding a whole bunch of side bend and things like that, and then just let those arms work up and down. And one way that we like to do that is if you can rotate, get those arms out in front of you, and maybe stick a dowel between, have someone hold a dowel between your two arms. That's going to give you feedback as to whether or not you're actually rotating, or if your arms are here and the dowel was coming out from the center of your chest, it would cross that lead arm. So again, I think it's very important to understand the proper rotation with shoulder flexion is going to get the club in a good spot at the top of the backswing.
I tell you, that's really great information. I was feeling a little nervous there. You're in my personal space there. I thought you were going to smack me, So Dennis, I think understanding that, and I think as we're talking to players, or as you guys are talking to players in the developmental mode, what drills are you working on for them to help understand what that is?
Yeah, I think we definitely like to use a progression. Tyler explained that really well as far as how the body should be moving. The core segments of the lower body and the torso, and then the arms and the clubs, which are the levers. That how do those work? So great explanation. So we'll do a progression. We've talked about body swings, just crossing your arms and feeling those first two segments. Then let's introduce the arms. You can hold a little ball or a book in front of you and just understand how to combine those two together. If you add some weight, like a medicine ball, 6 pounds, 8 pounds, you'll start to feel when you're moving in a way where you're really in a strong leverage position at the top versus, as Tyler explained, not rotating, arms work across the chest. That ball gets heavy pretty quick, and you'll start to understand you can't slam the ball very hard into the ground, right? Whammy! Into the ground, like that. So that's where you want to be. Strong position so you can slam it hard and rotate well. Oh, my hat was going to come off there.
That was really good. I thought that was great. Let's welcome in Gabe Carr-Harris, and I would say you're Brick on the show, if you will. So welcome, Brick.
Thank you, Ron.
You know, you're our U13 coach, our expert here talking and coaching our U13, if you will. And obviously you work closely with Dennis and all the golf coaches.
Sure.
You know, what are some of the things from a U13 perspective that you're talking about and how to create, you know, this good path or good club face control?
Yeah.
What are you doing with U13 players?
Great question, Ron. Well, first of all, young kids are very impressionable, so we have to make sure that we use our words carefully and make sure that we echo the performance aspect of it and make sure they understand that they have to use the ground efficiently and that good face and good path are results of these factors. And for those watching that don't know what we're talking about with the face, we're referring to the face at impact. So which direction is it pointing? Some people use open and closed, and then the path is the direction that the golf club is moving. Some people use in to out to in, stuff like that. So at a young age, we really want them to understand what that means, but we don't go too deep into trying to achieve a certain number. Speaking of numbers, when we measure this stuff, a lot of these machines that we're using, they're basing it off of a center hit. So we like the kids to understand what an off-center hit has, the cause and effect of off-center hits are. So to answer your question, we keep it fairly simple. We make sure that they have good use of the ground, that they understand why the ball is going where it is.
Good God, man, if that was simple, I'd hate to know what complicated is.
Oh, man.
So, speaking of keeping it simple and obviously understanding these numbers, it's so important, you know, from a path. Is there a correct path? Is there a one path fit all? How do you look at it from a developing junior golfer?
Yeah, I think you know, that dispersion of path, you know, around zero is going to be ideally probably narrowed over time as they get better control of their body and ability to deliver the club. But we do work on shaping the ball different ways. So just, you know, doing random practice and focusing on the results and kind of, you know, getting closer to zero. But no, there really isn't one path that fits all. I mean, you want to hit different shots, but some people might, you know, prefer a draw, and some people might prefer a cut for whatever reason. And but, you know, I think it's important for them to sometimes understand when they don't understand the results, you know, understand contact point and gear effect and, you know, some of those more complex things when it just doesn't make sense to them as far as what they're seeing in front of them.
I think that's one of the things that we do hear quite often as golf coaches, is you see a tour player, you know, have a certain methodology or preference, if you will, of how they play the game, and I think that gets moved down to all these other young junior players who are developing,
Sure.
and we get stuck in this idea that, well, that's what works for them, so it must work for me. How do you handle that, and how do you talk to the young players of, hey, I'm developing, and I'm not trying to make you look like, you know, Dustin Johnson or Matt Wolf, who's obviously a young, you know, talented player right now.
Yeah, those kids are, again, they're impressionable, and what they see on TV is what they want to be, but we have to explain to them that they're still growing, they're still getting stronger, and all of these factors are contributing to what they're doing as young golfers. So we don't go too deep into it, and we strive to tell them that it doesn't need to be perfect right now at 10, 11, 12 years old. We just want you to keep working hard and getting really good ground foundations and good posture and good rotation.
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
that's
for
great.
sure. You know, one of the common things we'll see, I think, you know, Gabe, you'll see with the young age group is the early extension and how that, you know, that makes it difficult to control path and face. A lot of times it could be inside out, but we see all kinds of things with early extension. So, you know, to just look at numbers and try to, you know, directly affect change on that without looking deeper and again, looking long term. You know, I heard a great thing on a podcast recently. They kind of defined, you know, self-improvement as just being able to really move towards long-term focus versus short-term focus. That's kind of the crux of being able to improve yourself, is when you can dive into that long-term perspective. Hard to do at 10, but, you know, that's our job to help them understand that.
Yeah, and unfortunately, it's probably not so much the junior, you know, problem of looking at it from a long-term perspective. It's a little bit more of that other pressure that comes from society, as we talk about society as parents. And I know parents that are out there, we're all, you know, I know Dennis, myself, and Gabe here are parents, and I think we just want the best for our child, but the reality is it sometimes influences what's really happening and what should be taking place, and I think we see that very often in the sports world of junior sports, if you will, right?
Yeah, it's an interesting phenomenon. I think for sure parents, kind of want the short-term results or short-term improvement for their kids, even though they know themselves and whatever endeavor or career that they've gone down, it took a long time. They know that. But, for some reason, and they want the best for their kids, but for some reason, they don't want to wait. And the kid may be willing, like you said. So, I think it's important for parents out there to just think about how hard this game is and what it takes, to be successful at anything, and just continue to create the support and the environment for your junior and give them the best chance.
And now you've alluded to this before, but there's a great book out there, The Gift of Failure,
Yeah.
and I think really more so for the parent than it is for the child, and it talks a lot about that, and it talks a lot, again, we don't want to see them fail, so we try to take all the obstacles out of the way, hence why we've seen so many of the issues with college recruiting and some illegal things there. But I think that's one of the issues that we face, especially in this industry, because it's a recreational sport, but it really isn't. It's a big business for a lot of people, and how they're actually handling this and what's on the line, if you will, college scholarship or not college scholarship, right? So I think it's really difficult, and I think that's one of the things I know you talk a lot to parents about, The Gift of Failure, and we actually hand that book out to our parents.
Yeah, I think it's, it just seems like the term itself doesn't make sense, but really those obstacles, what we found, or what, the author Jessica Leahy, who's a mother of 3 and a school teacher, what she found is taking those obstacles away is really detrimental to development of the skills that you need for life. So it's the same in golf. We know it probably makes more sense in the gym, right? I mean, you need to stress the muscle and put, as Tyler can talk about, and get sore to get stronger. So those obstacles are the key to, improvement. So when you take them away, it's going to be hard.
Yeah, we never really want to see that happen, but it does happen, and I know even in our environment, which I think you guys have created an unbelievable learning environment. But I think again we see that kind of hesitation of wanting to fully buy into the gift of failure and pushing and getting through that hard work to get that success long term.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess as you think about it, I guess most parents are probably more willing to go through the struggle themselves and watch their kids go through it. So I think it's just something that you probably have to contemplate and think about and try to, change it if possible. It's really important here.
Yeah. So Gabe, as a U13 coach and expert, so leaving the audience with something to do, what would be your top 3 things that you would give the audience? Hey, here's some drills. Here's what I'd love to see you, try to get to and work on.
Yeah, great question. So one of the things I love to do is have the kids guess where they hit it on the face. So when they're swinging outside, and they start talking about shooting some good scores and I can bend it, I can do this. So then we put a ball down and we just simply ask them where did they hit it on the face. And it's, and not only do kids struggle with this, but adults do too. So it quickly kind of shows them, where they're hitting it and the cause and effect. You can use foot powder spray, you can use some tape. It's pretty simple. Another thing relating to face and path is we like to look at the distance on off-center hits. So why is it so important to hit a shot on the center of the face? And we keep preaching this. And so what is the penalty when the kids hit it off center? So you can use a radar for that, or you can have them guess. And I like having them guess the distance. So real simple. We have many targets out there on GPC now.
You were just going back out to your hockey game, so again, I appreciate you.
Thanks for having
taking
me.
that third period off and coming into the
Thank
studio.
you very much.
So thanks so
Luck
much.
out on the ice.
Yeah, thanks, boys.
Yeah.
Don't
lose any more teeth. Don't lose any more teeth.
I'll try.
All right. So, Mr. Hillman.
Yes, Ron.
Yeah, so we're talking about that gift of failure, but let's talk about more, okay, where do we go from here? Okay, they're struggling, they want to get lower scores, they want to control the golf ball more. What are your 3 things that you would recommend to do right now?
Yeah, again, so lead factors, lag factors, so we do the self-assessment. Just go through it, see where you are, do it on a regular basis. You need to improve specific skills. Okay, yeah, we want to improve scoring average, but that is it's just a combination of all kinds of things that are going on out there, from how you prepare for tournaments. So self-assessment on a regular basis is one. I would find a coach. you need feedback. You need somebody to guide you through the process and some of the pitfalls and hurdles that we're talking about. I think that's really important. And create a really good tournament schedule, I think, is also a third one that's really important.
So if I'm playing in tournaments and you're talking about the feedback, you're talking about the lag factor score being a lag factor, and you're talking about PDI, so that is a self-assessment that they can do, through the Junior Golf Hub. And then obviously finding a coach that's going to give them the feedback or help them maybe work on some of the corrective stuff that they're doing. So I think that's wonderful advice, and I think if all of you out there would actually follow that, you will find yourself getting better and improving a little bit more in the immediate term as well. And I think it's not just long term. I think you forget that just those simple things make a big difference in what it is immediately. Ryan, welcome back.
Thank you.
So as we're just talking about, club path control and club face control, and obviously getting the ball in the hole least amount of strokes, you talk about those drills that you do, and from the exercise model of working those muscle groups that are needed. Right. What would be your recommended maybe 2 or 3? Hey, you got to get these done, and it's going to help you.
We'll keep it pretty simple. I know earlier you mentioned stability and how important stability is to setting yourself up for success for a consistent club path and as a result club face. Lateral stability, even more specifically, how we stabilize ourselves moving side to side is going to give us the best opportunity at doing that. So when I look at lateral stability, big muscle group that's important there are the glutes. More specifically than that, the glute medius. So if we're keeping it simple at home, all you're going to need is a basic mini band. And honestly, I'll give you one more here in a second that you don't need any equipment at all. But if you have a mini band, throw it around your ankles. We're going to get into our golf posture, and you're just going to go lateral mini band walks to the side, 10 to the side, to the right, and 10 back to the left. Trying to keep tension on that band the whole time. One common mistake I see with folks when they're doing these lateral walks is their head moving to the side. So as you step forward with that lead leg, the head's going to drop back, and you're gaining all that stability from other places. Essentially, I want you to try to keep your body nice and stable and drive that leg forward as you're staying good and stable. All right, so, that was with equipment. If you didn't have equipment, if you don't have equipment, lie down on your side. Lie down on your side. We're going to do some clamshells, all right? So keeping your heels together, pull your heels in under your hips and just separate your knees. You can do 20, 30 reps on each side before you start to feel it, but the clamshells are a great exercise to work the glute medius in particular. And then a progression would be a good lateral bound. I always like to say, pretend you got a stream running right next to you, a little afternoon delight. You're going to jump over that stream, from one side to the other, and I want you to stick the landing. All right, so that's a good dynamic lateral bound.
Brian, Tyler, thank you. That was well said, well done. So again, you've got some things to work on out there, so hopefully you get out and work on those things to help your game on improving yourself physically and also from a golf skill perspective. So that actually, in this show, wraps up our primary fundamentals and what we talked about. So going through those again, so Champ, if you can go through those primary fundamentals, that would be great.
Yeah, so we showed the pyramid probably a couple times. So if we look at it, the first fundamental or at the base of the pyramid, ground forces, right? From there, we're looking at posture. We've talked about those things extensively. Rotation, speed, right? Really important. That definitely is a fundamental we know in this game because it changes how you move as you add speed. And then on top of that is club path and club face control like we talked about today. So again, when you practice and you see ball flight and you understand path and face a little bit better, keep looking deeper. Ideally all the way back to setup, to function, to the ground level, and try to connect those dots better and better over time.
One thing I will say before we close out is how important it is to manage expectations. Back to episode 1, when you're going through a growth spurt relative to your club path and your club face. So often we'll see athletes sign up for these events. They might not necessarily even realize they're in a growth spurt, but your body awareness is going to take a significant hit when you're growing. So understanding that you might not execute the way that you would normally is important to understand during those times. So yeah.
Really good. That's awesome.
Thank you.
I believe we have some questions from the audience.
Gentlemen, Ron, thank you for that. We do have some questions from the audience.
All right. Thank you, Andrew.
The first is, how does swing playing influence your path?
How swing playing influence your path?
That's good. We did touch on that. Again, a plane is sort of an imperfect concept. You know, if it's something you want to use, you know, people call underneath the plane or above the plane would, you know, somehow dictate, you know, being into out or out to in. So, you know, the club, you drew a line, the club's underneath it, you'd probably be into out, and if the club's above it, you'd be out to in. But again, to say the club should travel up and down a perfect line throughout the swing, I think is an illusion.
The next question is, what is the difference between swing plane and path?
Okay.
Whammy.
Whammy. All right. Similar question, isn't it? So, again, plane would be the definition of plane. I've actually, you know, we've talked about this extensively, believe it or not. So, plane would be when you connect 2 points. That's a plane, right? Like this table. You connect 2 different points. It's on a plane. Path is actually the direction that a thing is taking. So it can have any kind of shape to it. So path is 3-dimensional. It's arced. I mean, it's you know, we can get pretty deep, but we'll stay there.
And the last question is, what determines where the ball starts, club path or club face?
Ooh. Gabe's the master on that. He's got right down to the 0.1%, I think. Let's see, we're going to go with like 85% club face on a driver start line. Gabe, give me the thumbs up.
Correct.
Whammy. Whammy.
Whammy.
All right, there we go. Mostly face for starting.
And we do have a pop quiz winner.
All right. Let's hear that winner.
Jake Portugal is the winner tonight.
Jake Portugal.
Portugal.
Way to go, Jake. Congratulations.
Getting that poster hanging
You
right
get-
above his bed.
Who are you, gentlemen?
So, let me introduce our staff tonight on the Anchor News. We've got Tyler Campbell as Brian Fantana. He's our performance expert here at the Golf Performance Center. Thanks so much. Well done. And we've got Champ
Kind.
Kind, and it's played by Dennis Hillman. He's our director of coaching here at the Golf Performance Center. Well done. Whammy.
Last but certainly
Whammy.
not least, our founder and owner, Roger Nick, playing Ron Burgundy, ladies and gentlemen.
Absolutely. Welcome. Thank you. Thank you. Anyway, as always, we'd like to thank our sponsors, Junior Golf Hub, for sponsoring the show and being part of this, as always. As you got, Jake Portugal won the college checklist, so we don't have, was that shown? He knows what that is. But anyway, it is a checklist for the 4 years that you're in high school to help you make those right decisions and get your pathway to college. But the Junior Golf Hub in itself is a great app. Download that app, get those coaches in your pocket, make sure that you actually find that right fit for you, get those coaches following you, upload your profile, keep your profile up to date, so make sure that you actually are getting recognized and seen out there, so thanks so much. Also, Ethan Allen Preparatory, want to make sure that you're achieving your greatness in the classroom, on the golf course, and in life. So again, always thank you. Stay classy. Hubbians out there, thanks for tuning in. We look forward to seeing you next week. Thanks so much. Have a great night.
It's really coming down out there.
What a great show. I tell you, sunny
yeah.
this morning, early sunny, what a great day.
Unbelievable.
Yeah,
I'd love to hit balls in this weather.
We're going to be playing golf tomorrow, I think, in 20 degrees. Yeah.
Torrential rain, snow.
40 degrees if we're lucky.
Way to go, guys. Well done. Thanks so much, guys. Appreciate that. Behind the camera, all the production guys, thanks so much. Well done.